I think it's time to keep this review short.
Yes.
Speaking of short reviews,
Yes. Martin Short. Marty Life is short. Yeah.
Netflix said, "Damn it, Amazon beat us to I Like Me," and the story of of John Candy. What other Canadian comedian can we tell the life story of?
Yes. Right. Oh, Martin Short. Yes. So I watched this a couple of weeks ago. Yes, it is the documentary about the life of Martin Short, who, from his humble beginnings in suburban Toronto to today, where he's, of course, one of the stars on a very popular streaming series, Only Murders in the Building. The documentary was actually directed by Lawrence Kasdan,
Hmm.
who, if for those of you who don't know, he was one of the writers on the Indiana Jones movies. He wrote Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Um, he also directed a few movies. His big one was The Big Chill, which was kind of one of these um, comedy, movies type things. I can't think of the right way to describe it, but it doesn't matter. Um, and of course, you find out that the reason that Lawrence Kasdan directed it was because he was actually a producer on one of Martin Short's movies in the '80s that flopped. That's a kind of an unfortunate thing with Martin Short is that many of the movies that he was in didn't actually perform very well box office wise. Even though
He
he made
he
he
he is an
made some
excellent
good.
supporting player, in my opinion, but like he isn't really leading man material in most situations.
That's true. Yeah. They his first movie was Three Amigos, and as beloved as that movie is today, it actually was a box office bomb when it came out.
Really?
Yeah, it actually came in second its opening weekend, and the number one movie was The Golden Child, which we reviewed for the channel. Uh,
Oh, that is just unfair. Okay, Golden Child is a fine movie in its own right, but
yeah.
uh, or an all right movie, but Three Amigos is a comedy classic.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It certainly has had more staying power than The Golden Child.
Yep.
Um,
But sorry, I interrupted.
that's okay. And Arco says, yeah, so you're saying Netflix came up short in the race to release the first John Candy biopic? Yes.
Ha cha 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 cha
Ta
cha.
ta ta. But yeah, this is a really nice, documentary, little nice, story about his life. Kind of like John Candy, he didn't have any personal issues. He's kept his nose clean. He's not an egomaniacal guy that everybody hates, and none of that stuff. But quite the opposite. In fact, he has like so many of these Hollywood people are his very good friends. I mean, like Steve Martin, obviously, is they were Three Amigos, and then Father of the Bride, which we did, and then and Only Murders in the Building, but also like Tom Hanks, Steven Spielberg. He it's just a whole slew of people. I mean, he actually did. He was in. I don't know if you heard of Captain Ron.
That I I almost want to say I saw that, but it's been like 30 years.
Yeah, I've seen like bits and pieces of it, but Captain Ron was played by Kurt Russell, and he got to be friends with Kurt Russell, and he has like this vacation home that he goes to all the time, and that's where he invites all of these people up there to go on vacation with him. Um, and I don't think it was based on a SNL sketch, Arcos. I think it's actually a spoof of Magnificent Seven. Was Three Amigos, but yeah, then but I will say he he's a very good natured guy. He's just very, he, despite everything that but I will say, like, he has gone through a lot of tragedies in his life. When he was so he's the youngest of five children. He was a classic oops baby. Like his his next closest sibling is 5 years older than him. He's Irish Catholic family.
Gotcha.
Yeah. His actually, one of the things I didn't know was that his brother Michael is a comedy writer. He's worked on a lot of shows throughout the decades. And I think he's like won Emmys and stuff. So he's very successful. His brother is very successful too. But his oldest brother, I believe his name was David. When Martin was 12, his oldest brother died in a car wreck. And then when he was 18, his mother passed away, and then his father passed away 2 years later. And so, but despite all of that, he was still, still going through life, and still being very optimistic about everything. And even when his career wasn't going very well, he still had he had people around him, I think, who loved him and cared about him very deeply, including, like, one of them was his wife Nancy, who I mean, you see, like, they show a lot of home videos of them, and I think everybody who is either married, or, like, if you want to be married someday, that's kind of their marriage is the kind of marriage you would want to have. Just
right.
They were soulmates. I mean, if you believe in that kind of thing. But and again, going with tragedy, sadly his wife did pass away in the late 2000s, early 2010s. And that affected him very hard. But again, he kept going, and sadly, most recently, his daughter passed away too. Yeah, it's just, yeah, but yeah, I mean, he's still, he's still loving life. He's still, going, being of good cheer, I guess, is the expression. And of course, he's still doing only murders in the building. They showed some behind the scenes stuff there. They had this funny bit where he's sitting in the car, kind of rehearsing his lines. And I remember the episode. It's where he and Steve Martin are in the restaurant, and they're talking to each other, but they have these menus over there, just covering their faces, and they only see their eyes. And Martin Short says, "Yes, and we can schedule our colonoscopies together." And he's rehearsing that line in the car, and then he looks at the camera. "Oh, hi." The other, just real quick, the other thing too is he was talking about all those different characters that he played, where they came from, and there was one character from SNL that he did, Mr. Thorpe. And it's this guy who's, he's got the cigarette in the ashes about like an inch long on there. He's just like, and they're interviewing about something. He gets interviewed, and he's very defensive. He's like, "Of course I know that. You don't think I know that?" he based the character on the makeup artist on SNL. And she had no idea that he based the character on her until his last day that he was leaving. Like, "Well, he based that character." And I'm like, "Well, of course I know that. You don't think I know that?"
Wasn't he also Jiminy Glick?
Yep.
Okay.
And, they talked about the idea that they got for Jiminy Glick was he was in a movie with Danny Glover. And there was a scene where his character gets stung by a bee, and he has an allergic reaction. He starts like puffing up.
Okay.
And his wife saw that and said, "I couldn't see you in that." And then that's where he got the idea to have this big fat guy, and then celebrity interview, Jiminy Glick.
I just had a weird connection that might not actually be a thing. Do you think he's supposed to be based on what's his name over at Film Threat? Chris Gore.
Oh, Chris Gore. I don't think so.
He's much more flamboyant, but like he kind of had the same hair as I recall.
Yeah, that's in gray. Yeah. I'm trying to think of I think he's like a composite of a lot of different like interviewers, like oh god, what was his name? Merv Griffin and
Okay.
yeah, like Joan Rivers and Larry King and yeah.
Right, because it always seemed like my understanding is that Chris Gore was always like a C rate kind of in that area, like a function, but not like a major player.
Yeah. He's Film Threat was they were mainly focused on indie films. Yeah, so he wasn't really
Anyway,
but yeah,
it just popped into my head that there's a very similar look there.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
So it sounds like it's not going to be as much of a tearjerker as I Like Me.
No,
just because while there's tragedy, Short is still with us.
Yes. Yeah, and sounds like he's not going anywhere anytime soon, though. But yeah, it's like our previous review. This is currently on Netflix. Although it was just real quick, there's a funny end credit scene where he's doing Jiminy Glick and Lawrence Kasdan's talking to him and says, "So you've interviewed a lot of celebrities in your time, and you've never interviewed Martin Short." No, I've never interviewed Martin Short. I don't like them. I don't think he's very funny. He's not very talented. Well, we're making a documentary about him. Everybody's getting documentaries made about him.
Well, that sounds like it's worth a watch. I haven't seen it myself. I just know of Martin from things I've seen him in.
Yeah.